Okay, well, I haven't recorded much in a while, so it's time to change that. I'm in the dark. I'm in the dark. I've got a light pointing in my face. So these people over here are called Abba and Preach. They're quite funny. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're from Quebec. I think Abba is the one on the right. Yeah, on the right. The Preach is the one on the left. And I think I've heard Preach speak Quebecois French before. So anyway, doesn't matter. They are talking about people don't have any children, which is always good. And the video essentially says people don't have any children for reasons that have nothing to do with economics, which is sort of true. I've been banging on this for a while now. I've been saying it before it was cool. But yeah, so let's hear this bit because I want to react to it because it's fun.
But I have heard this. It's just pessimism about the future. A lot of people have this like deep dread and anxiety about the world, and as a result of that, they don't want to bring kids into this world. And I've heard this sentiment a lot. So it's
Okay, so this is partially an excuse. I've been hearing this since when I was a teenager, and it's it's partially an excuse because it's just another way to express the same thing, which is I don't want to have any. Uh, but it is not a complete excuse because there is some truth to it, and I don't want to get ahead of myself and really reveal it, so to speak. There's one of my favorite economists, Milton Friedman, essentially was arguing that economy, in his opinion, is essentially philosophy, and that economic freedom is essentially freedom. So, in that sense, the future looks bleak economically, and therefore one doesn't want to have any children, and it's more than just an excuse. But let's see.
surveys across the Western Europe and North America, a sizable minority, 20 to 30% of children under 35, cite climate change or bleak economic futures as a reason for not wanting kids. So a lot of people have a negative feeling about their society, and it's just
Okay, so the thing about the climate change is just the modern iteration of Al Gore's rubbish. It's as old as the sun. If anybody has been around a while, anybody who's like 30 plus or anything like this has heard this forever. And it just keeps getting repackaged. It's acidification of oceans or acid rain or the hole in the ozone layer or the oil running out. They're all kind of the same variation. Am I doing? I'm doing light works with my hands. It's all sort of a variation of the same point, which is essentially the globe, the world is about to explode, everything's terrible. Da 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 da. This is, I mean, obviously things happen and they have a certain valence. It's fine. Caring more about one's environment as a general thing, I suppose, is fine too. But this level of fear mongering leads to just fundamentally group depression, I think, and it's exactly what it's achieved. By now, it's religious. So if anybody were to question it in any way, or question or all hail the holiness of Greta Thunberg, the most useless, pointless puppet that I've ever seen. You know, it's all very, very, very sad, but it's marching towards this non-reproductivity idea. It's been for a very long time. Now, the second bit that he said is worries about economics. Now, I think those are very, very grounded, which is why I conceded that point at least partially before. Basically, all countries that I'm aware of that are worth living in, let's be clear, but I think the others as well, are insolvent, right? Continuously. So all governments are constantly in the red by like ridiculous numbers that nobody can pronounce. There's global inflation everywhere, despite the fact that it isn't talked about very much. I'm not really sure why, but all prices are going up. Housing is unaffordable everywhere, despite the fact that the number of people is going down. So there are so many fingers on so many market scales that nothing can behave in any way that's normal, natural, reasonable. Everything's crazy. And there's a stupid amount of taxation going on everything, which I think they're going to touch on, and that's kind of my shtick. That's kind of the thing I want to discuss more in depth.
not the kind of one where people want to have kids. That's also a part of it. I've never been someone who's been like pessimistic about the future, but I can imagine from their perspective, like, why would I don't like the world. Why would I bring kids and make them suffer? I don't want to be on this planet, to be honest with you. What planet do you want to be?
So before they carry on, this is the part that's an excuse. This is the kind of 14-year-old nihilistic non-point of view. These are platitudes. Common, but they are platitudes. The fact that a lot of people say something doesn't make that in any way valuable. The funky thing about democracy, or let's call it majority rule, doesn't mean that the rule is just or guided by any level of ethical or logical coherence. So, yeah.
I want to be floating in nothingness because it was better before I was born. So you want to stay in this. He said, no, what nuts don't do? Ask you to pay taxes.
All right. This is where I'm going to stop. And there's no point in going any further because they're going to be discussing numbers and all sorts of stuff. But that's what Abba said. You know what nuts don't do? They don't ask you to pay taxes. So he started with more of these 14-year-old platitudes, this silly nihilism that is essentially sort of like, I don't know, like the lyrics of a grunge song. It's just boring. But then what he said is, if I were there, I wouldn't be paying taxes. This is an incredibly profound joke. Many a true words are spoken in jest. The fact is this. Living today is incredibly uncomfortable. And one of the reasons why this is because the only way to construct anything, to build savings, to purchase a house or purchase goods or travel or whatever, in order for you to achieve this, you need to be extraordinarily affluent. And I mean extraordinary. We're talking about, you have 6 figures, your partner has 6 figures, okay, you can afford to go to the Maldives for a month or something like that. Like people that do all sorts of crazy tricks, like they incorporate themselves and then they do what they want to do and they expense it to the company, all sorts of crazy lunacy with the specific and explicit intent of enjoying the fruit of your labor. The fruit of your labor is labor is no longer yours. It hasn't been yours for decades now. And for somebody like myself who was born and raised in a communist hellhole, Yugoslavia in my case, which was more liberal from the perspective of economics, but anyway, still failed. This is all been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Like every country that I'm aware of that's worth living in is so profoundly socialist. That includes the United States. The United States has not all states, and plus I'm not an expert, so whatever. But for example, the United States will tax you if you're in a foreign place. Say for instance, if I have passive earnings in the United States right now, let's say an investment, I need to every year demonstrate I don't live in the United States. Otherwise, the United States by default taxes me. So the United States violates the principle of innocence until proof of guilt using its IRS. Because what it says is, unless you prove to me that you live somewhere else, I am not going to accept your foreign status that you have declared 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I have never in my life resided in the United States. Every 1 year, both as a company and as a person, I need to file a document called the W8BEN, if I'm not mistaken. It says a dash between the W and the 8. So basically, I'm now beholden to a country that I'm not resident of, and I'm not a citizen of, and otherwise they will tax me. Let's say you have some savings on a Wise account, which is a Belgian company. Whenever your savings produce some earnings, Belgium taxes you. That is absolutely incredible. So wherever you live, okay, you are being mined like cattle, okay? And this applies to every adult on the planet. Paradoxically, I was looking into China, and China taxes its people less than the West. It's incredible, right? So they might be completely unfree from the perspective of thought or that sort of stuff. At least that's the mythos that's being pushed. But they are freer economically than us, and so they're exploding in growth. They have been exploding in growth for decades, and they're absolutely taking over. Now, your Facebook feed is flooded with inventions that come from China. Hey, look at this toilet that twists sideways, or whatever silly stuff. Some more silly, some more serious. This new potato peeler, etc., etc. The West doesn't invent anything anymore because we're all fundamentally depressed. One of the reasons why we're all fundamentally depressed, I think the biggest one that there is, and that's why I granted that there was some value to this entire argument of we don't want to live, is the fact that whatever we make goes to somebody else. Okay? And the fundamental logic that underpins this particular event is from each according to their means, to each according to their needs. It's as simple as that. If you go to Italy, you've got, for example, Giacenza Media. They know the bank is obligated by law to send information about your personal accounts to the government. So if the government sees that you have had, let's say, 10,000 euros sitting in that account all the time, you get less child benefits. Child benefits in and of itself, by the way, are wrong, or in and of themselves are wrong, because it means that people who have no children pay for yours. It's all totally bananas. It's all totally wrong. It's all totally terrible. Because if everybody looked after themselves, right, which is consistently depicted as some sort of like hellhole, which it isn't. Okay? But anyway, you would be able to manage your own money. Right now, in the current life, it's so difficult to figure out where the money goes. You would need an accountant constantly to live on your shoulder, which is effectively what happens if you're in a company. If you run a company, a very small one, you'll know how you need to track every single damn penny. Whereas your government can be as insolvent as they want, and it doesn't matter. They can print, they cannot print. It doesn't matter. It's like, it's completely crazy how in the negative governments are. The Argentinian case is quite interesting right now. Obviously, there's absolutely no coverage of this because it is something that clearly breaks the socialist narrative, which is you have a president that has been elected who is enacting, a bit like a temporary dictator, right? Cuts to government spending that are absolutely severe. So cutting the budget by 30%, removing a third of the services, a third of the ministries, and so on and so forth. He used to scream afuera as he was removing basically ministries from a blackboard, like in a beautiful act of demagogic theater. But the country is recovering. It's recovering quicker than anywhere else, even though it's going through a moment of pain for obvious reasons. The moment in which you remove the heroin, which is the eternal lending, etc., etc., you're gonna go through pain. It's withdrawal symptoms. It's obvious. But anyway, all of this fundamental concept of removing from you what is yours is the first thing that will lead you to not want to grow, progress, increase your wealth, etc. I am absolutely inside this, even though I have 5 children. But that is exactly how I live. Like, I have a certain amount of passive income coming in. It's nowhere near enough to pay for my life, and my life doesn't make any sense because I have almost no bills. I don't commute to work, so I don't have that as a bill. I'm just refusing to take any benefits, which I think is the correct thing for numerous reasons, but whatever. And I can't survive. The costs of life are consistently draining my accounts. And I'm well set up to not have this problem. We homeschool our children, so they don't go to school, so there's no cost there. There's some cost, but whatever. It's all well manageable. If you do not continually make income in this beautiful cycle, the British call it the rat race, at least the British that live where I live, right? You can't live. You can't survive. You need to constantly hustle. But that doesn't make any sense. And the reason why this is happening is because, for example, where I live, VAT is at almost a quarter. A quarter of everything you buy goes to someone else. Prices of everything, rent, property, all sorts of stuff are absolutely through the roof. It is unlivable. Yet the wages in this country are so incredibly low. It is very, very obvious to anybody with eyes to see that this policy and this philosophy, if one can call it, can give it the grace of calling Marxism philosophy, which it isn't, it's absolutely disgusting, right? This thing that everybody embraces because they're retarded, okay, and ignorant historically. It's killing people. This is killing people. Milton Friedman used to say, if the government were in charge of the Sahara Desert, there would be a shortage of sand. Well, the government is in charge of people. Has been in charge of people for 2-3 generations now. My parents' generation, the boomers haven't made any kids. They were the products of the previous generation that did make many kids. And the level of catastrophe that this is going forward is so incomprehensible. All of the stats that you're looking at are wrong. I don't care who says it. I don't care what kind of expert brings it up. They're all totally catastrophically wrong. Building a population up from nothing is an insane amount of work. Okay? Reverting a trend of this sort, where most people have one child if you're lucky, okay? And it's been going on for almost, half a century, let's say. More, I would say, probably 70, 80 years now. So it's been going on for almost a century. This is going to reduce the population to a degree that is incomprehensible. The value of property should absolutely collapse. Land should be worthless. There's no one to go in there. Where I live, almost everything is abandoned. You look at the housing market in Italy, there are so many properties up for sale. You look for stuff under, say, 60,000 euros, which is, about 80K US, something like that at the moment, because the dollar is weak. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm spitballing, but it's definitely more than 60. And you find, like, livable homes. It is... This is completely crazy. The level of cataclysm, of economic cataclysm that we're headed for is so enormous. And all of the experts that are going like, oh yeah, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. I was like, no, man. And to wrap a beautiful bow around this, it's anybody who even not so much sees it or analyzes this or thinks about this the way I'm doing right now, or the way these two lovely fellas are doing that I'm reacting to, most people won't do this kind of like inner monologue, ponderation, but they have a feeling that something's up. And they see that they're always poor. And they're kept poor artificially by their governments. Consistently poor. And all of the rich, what they do constantly is they evade, which is the moral thing to do. They call it avoid. It doesn't matter. The point is they try to find ways to avoid paying tax because they think that they're taxed too much and they're right. And all of the lefties, the socialists, are invidious and they go, yes, but we need to get more from the rich. And this is the basic demagoguery that exists on the left. It's as old as the planet. It's dull. If you believe that depriving the rich, right, who are desperately trying not to be deprived of their stuff, is going to help you, you're a fool. The rich being as rich as possible is what makes you rich, too. Because they are going to be wanting to expand and build a new company and whatnot, etc., etc. It will bring to organic growth. You want to solve the climate change issue? Progress is going to be the answer. Government regulation is not. Taxing gas-powered vehicles in order to promote electric-powered vehicles, which are vile for the environment. There's loads of people covering this, and anybody vaguely honest knows that this is the case. It's just a Keynesian economics ploy, one of many. But yeah, I don't have a positive message to this. These guys are right, okay? The experts are figuring out, oh yeah, this is a lot more tragic than we think, and we are now to the next stage already in which males don't even want to date females. They want nothing to do with them, which is the correct choice, by the way. This is all going to absolute hell. And there's no coming back from this because the recovery will happen potentially, but it will take 300-400 years. Like the recovery will take an amount of time that is embarrassingly long. So I mean, I'm not Nostradamus, nor am I an expert. I'm just observing what seems to be happening and thinking for myself. That's all I'm doing. But this is an old trend. It's been there for a long time, and the fact that the experts are waking up now is very, very sad. But yes, Abba and Preach explain in this video correctly that it's got nothing to do with economy, economy in the sense of your money, your personal money as a couple or as an individual. Loads of people who have loads of money still make no kids. It makes no difference at all. It's got to do with the fact that everybody's grubby little hands are in your pockets consistently. And if they stopped doing that, you would have a way different life. But this wouldn't be evident. It would take a generation for this to evolve, right? And just as per usual in history, whenever there's socialism, there's moral debauchery that follows. This is all obvious. It's normal. It's happened a trillion times. Well, trillion may be an exaggeration. Well, then again, the government can say trillion in the negative, so I can say trillion, can't I? For effect. Anyway, point is, it has happened numerous times in history now, certainly modern history. This is obvious. This is so obvious it's dull. So it's been 21 minutes of me rambling on, but I've, I think, reacted to about 1 minute of content. Anyway, I'm out of here. Best of luck to everybody. But yeah, nobody wants kids, and this is how we're all going to vanish away. Thousands of years of progress destroyed in minutes on the altar of stupid virtue signaling and socialism. Well done. Well done, everybody. Stop sustaining this, please. It is so stupid. It's unbefitting of your humanity. Is that a word? It is not worthy of you.